Kate had just celebrated her coming of age just a few days ago. She had always wanted to earn her own money, but as a teenager, her mother, Marilyn, would not allow her to work part-time. Her stance was unequivocal. No work. Learn to know. You'll have plenty of time to work when you grow up. Perhaps it was in vain, because at least a penny could have contributed to the family budget, easing the burden for herself. It was not so easy for Marilyn to raise Kate and her younger daughter Ivy alone, because their father had left the family many years before. Of course, the young girl, who had just graduated from high school 2 months before, didn't have many options. Kate wasn't a princess in terms of work and was ready to jump at any opportunity. So after a couple of days of searching, the choice fell on one of the local pizzerias. When she got there, she saw guys just like her, the students of tomorrow. They were all dutifully completing tasks in the kitchen and hall set by their mentor, Alan, the manager, who was only 3 years older. He was a charming, friendly, open-minded young man who wanted to listen. Kate had to do an internship under him, which lasted a few days, and she did it successfully. It was just a matter of waiting for official employment. The first days, she went to her new job with pleasure. Young, cheerful staff, flexible schedule, which she could combine with her studies at full-time department if she wanted, loyal attitude of the management, and constant praise from her mentor, Alan. On one of her shifts at lunch, Kate overheard her partners talking. "I think it's time to get out of here, look for a real job." Why? They only bullshit on the ears. The girl decided to intervene. What happened? They've been promising to sign me a labor contract for a month already. They haven't even paid me anything. Not a penny, can you imagine? And I keep waiting for something, like a fool. Kate thought about it. She too was only told nothing, and she had never received a single payment, although she had worked without criticism. Official employment was very important to her. She wanted to build up her seniority right away. After working at the institution for a month, Kate decided to leave. The flexible schedule was not so flexible, and she did not want to work to the detriment of the studies she had just begun. Moreover, the girl never saw her coveted employment record book or honestly earned money. "I'm supposed to work for money, not for thanks." Kate reassured herself. She felt sorry not only for the unpaid money, but also for the time and effort spent. She informed Alan of her dismissal when she arrived for her last shift. "It's my last day here today." "How? You're quitting?" "Yes." "Why?" "I haven't received a penny in all this time, and I didn't come here to do charity work." "I'm not the only one. Guys who got here a little bit before me never saw a deposit either." "That says something." "Yeah, it's a sin here. They don't like to hire new people. That's why the turnover is so crazy." "Why didn't you say so before?" "I liked working with you. I wanted it to last as long as possible." Kate decided to devote the next couple of months to her university studies rather than her job search. It seemed important to her to make contact with her professors and to prepare for classes in a quality way. However, the realization that soon she would have to pay tuition did not give her peace of mind. During the application process, the applicant lacked just a few points to get on a budget, and at a family meeting, it was decided to apply on a commercial basis, not to lose a year after school. Marilyn insisted on it, because she knew that if Kate didn't go to school right away, she wouldn't want to. The woman judged from her experience. At one time, she was in the same situation, and as a result, she found herself without a college education, which she did not want for her own daughter. The family had no savings, so Mom and her daughter decided to take out a loan from the bank for her education. But getting a loan is one thing, but paying it back is quite another matter. So after a few months from the start of her studies, when the student figured out what was what at the university, she decided to resume her job search. All this time, Alan has been keeping her busy. He found the girl on social networks and literally occupied her. Out of politeness, she decided to meet him, even though she did not like him at all. However, Their meeting changed her view of the young man. He was not particularly good-looking, but he had a wonderful sense of humor. For a long time, he had been trying to convince her to go somewhere, spend time together, talk to each other, and get to know each other better. Kate was reluctant for a long time, but then the excuses in her arsenal were over, and she was forced to agree to a meeting. As the girl had anticipated, Alan did not arouse any feelings in her other than friendly. But this did not embarrass her. She was happy to be friends too, so for the next few years, their communication continued in this vein. True, with varying success. From time to time, the young man let her know that he had romantic feelings, after which they stopped all communication for a while. And then they started to miss each other, and then they made contact again. Friendly, of course. This went on for 2 years. Kate was unusually beautiful. Short dark hair contrasted with big bright blue eyes, great figure, sharp mind. Admirers were plentiful, but the girl was very choosy. She went on dates, but realized that all applicants do not suit her, and she did not see a worthy match. Alan, on the other hand, was not in a relationship with anyone. Yes, he didn't sit still, made attempts, invited girls to meetings, but he realized that all of them were no match for Kate. And he knew that it was only a matter of time, and that one day he and Kate would be together. During this time, Alan matured, became much more serious than he had been when he first met Kate, and his appearance became truly masculine. He quit his job at the pizzeria and opened his own small travel agency. And now, after another walk, the girl realized that she began to develop very different feelings toward Alan. No longer friendly, she remembered all his beautiful gestures to her, and thought, how could I ignore my happiness when it was so close? Immediately, the girl made the decision to confess to the young man in the budding sympathy, and wrote a message that they urgently need to talk. Alan, as always, rushed at the first call. Kate was 100% sure of the success of her venture, because she knew about Alan's feelings, so she was not afraid to give up. And for good reason. In response to her confessions, she heard the words of reciprocity, and so their relationship began. To say that young people were happy, to say nothing. They moved in together almost immediately, began to live together, and spent all their free time with each other. Alan had a small one-room apartment, to which Kate promptly moved all her things, not even having received an invitation. The young man didn't mind at all. "Did you move in so quickly?" Camilla, Kate's friend, asked. "Yes, why did it take so long?" "Well, it just kind of happened by itself. It just kind of spun around." "Don't you think it would have been better if we had just met first, got to know him better?" "Camilla, we've known each other for 2 years already. How much longer?" Kate laughed as she sipped cold pear lemonade on her walk in the park. "Well, that's different. You used to be in a different status. What if he's actually different?" "All right, I'll leave it at that." Camilla was Kate's best friend. The girls never fought and could tell each other anything and everything without fear of being judged. They both knew that they could come with absolutely any problem and get the necessary support at any time of the day or night. In their friendship, there was no place for envy and gossip with other people behind their backs, only honest opinions on this or that account. In general, before the relationship with Alan, Kate had a whole slew of buddies and friends, both girls and boys. She was very pleasant to talk to. She knew how to listen, always found the right words, and had her own opinion on this or that situation. People were drawn to her like a magnet. But her new boyfriend didn't like it, so he decided to gradually eliminate them. One day, Alan saw Kate's phone screen light up. A new message had arrived. The girl was busy preparing a multi-course dinner, was very engrossed, and did not hear the signal of the new text message. She had never cooked before she lived together, and there was no need for that either, since almost all of her mother's domestic duties were her own. At first she was upset by this fact, but the young man praised any cooking of her beloved, so she enjoyed practicing her cooking skills. Alan knew her phone password, unlike Kate. He didn't let her anywhere near his, so he had no trouble satisfying his curiosity and reading the incoming message. It was Albert, an old friend of Kate's. The guys had been friends since first grade, when their homeroom teacher put them at the same desk on Knowledge Day. Unlocking the device, Alan saw an innocuous message. "Kate, hello. How are you? Haven't seen you in a while. Do you want to get together tonight? Anything you want to tell me?" He rushed into the kitchen, waving the phone angrily in front of his girlfriend's face. "What? Why is some guy texting you?" "It's not a guy. It's Albert. We've been friends since first grade." "What does he want from you?" "I don't know. I didn't see what he wrote, unlike you." "Why on earth would he ask you out?" "Alan, you must have it all wrong. He doesn't have any kind of a thing against me. In fact, he's been going out with Kelly for 5 years, and we're friends too." "I don't care. You won't be friends with him anymore." Kate didn't want to talk to the young man like that, so she didn't continue the dialogue. She decided to be wise and not say anything. And the guy, in turn, went back to his room with her phone. The next day, coming out of the institute building, the girl saw Albert. She knew by the look that he was waiting for her and approached her friend. He did not have a face on him. He was all pale with fear and shaking. "Kate, what's going on?" "Hello to you too, Albert," she smiled back. "Kate, I'm not amused." "What's wrong?" the girl asked. "Why did he call me?" "Who?" Kate got nervous too. "Alan is yours. He called me last night, threatening me. He said that if I text or call you again, I'll be in trouble. He said I'd be in trouble with Kelly too. Why did you even give him my number?" "But I didn't. He must have written it down himself." She started making excuses. "You know what? Deal with your boyfriend on your own. I don't want any trouble." Albert left without looking back. By the way, that was their last conversation. Kate walked home in a bad mood, with her head down. She was bitter, resentful, unpleasant for herself and for her young man. It seemed that all the passers-by saw her blushing with shame. The girl clearly decided that a conversation with Alan could not be avoided. "We have to let him know that you can't do this to me and my friends." When she returned, she saw that the young man was sitting and playing on the computer as if nothing had happened. "Alan, what was that?" "What are you talking about, my love?" "I mean Albert. Why did you call him?" "I don't know what you mean," Alan answered calmly. "You don't have to pretend it didn't happen." "Oh, come on. I just talked to him normally, man to man, so to speak." "About what? And how did you have to talk to a man to make him shake with fear?" "Yeah, he's a wuss too. What friends you have." "I just told him he shouldn't go out with other people's girls. I guess he didn't learn his lesson. We'll have to do it again." "Alan, don't call anyone else. I'm ashamed of myself." Alan got up from behind the computer, put his arm around Kate, and tugged at her hair. "Sweetheart, let's not fight over little things." It wasn't at all what the girl was expecting, but she didn't want to quarrel with her young man, so she kept silent and swallowed everything. The couple just got out of the quarrel, and a new reason arose. Kate called Camilla. "Kate, shall we go to a club on Saturday? Let's dance. It's been a long time since we went out." "Oh, that's a great idea. Let's go." After the conversation was over, Alan decided to give his opinion. "Where are you going?" "To a club with Camilla." "Why?" "No, you're not going to any club." "Why not?" the girl asked in amazement. "Because there's nothing to do there. I know why they go there." "Alan, that's all nonsense. We don't go there to look for men, we just go there to dance. We don't even drink there. Suit yourself. You can pack your things and move out of the apartment." "I hear you." Kate wondered. Did Alan really not trust her enough to let her go out with her best friend? She gathered her things, called a cab, and left for her mother's place. The young man, on the other hand, watched the whole thing without dropping a word. He didn't even help carry the bags to the waiting car outside. That's how it ended with us. Well then, it's not fate. I don't want that kind of relationship, she thought, looking out the cab window. Kate had always had an adequate self-esteem and an understanding of what she wanted and deserved. On Saturday, she and Camilla went to a club after all. The girl decided she needed to get some air, so she was not going to sit at home and suffer. Kate put on a flying blue dress to match the color of her eyes, had curls and makeup with glittering silver shadows. She completed the image with the main accessory, a ring on the ring finger of her right hand. It was her little trick. When unwanted suitors came up to her and asked her to dance, she simply showed her dainty hand and said she was married. It was time for a slow dance when she heard someone behind her address her. "Young lady, may I invite you in?" Kate turned around to give another refusal. She saw Alan himself, and he, without waiting for an answer, took her hand and twirled in a dance. "What are you doing here?" "Well, I knew you were coming here. So, let's go home. In case you don't remember, we don't live together anymore." "Kate, stop being so naughty. I was trying to do better." "Really? What am I?" the girl thought to herself. He really only wished me well. 3 months had passed since that quarrel. Kate was once again living with Alan at his house. He was behaving perfectly, picking her up in his car from school, taking her to movies and cafes, not making scandals. One night, returning from a meeting with a friend, the girl heard, "Honey, will you stop talking to Camilla?" That's new. Why would that be new? Kate did not expect to hear that. "I think she is a bad influence on you." "Why is that?" "Well, when you come back from her, you're all confident, telling me how good she and Adam are and how good he is and how much he loves her. So, I'm not being mean. I'm just sharing how happy I am for my friend and that she's in a good relationship. I don't like that." "No, you don't. Camilla is my best friend, and I'm certainly not going to stop talking to her. She's one of my closest people, and I'm not ready to lose her." All Kate's subsequent meetings with Camilla were supervised by Alan. He called her every half hour to check the situation. And these were not just calls, but video calls. And if Kate didn't answer her young man, there would be trouble. And a scandal was the least that could happen. It often happened that when she returned home, she saw bags of her belongings on the landing at the door of the apartment. And then the conversation started over the wall, excuses, and entreaties to let her in. "Sweetheart, why do you need your Camilla? You can communicate with normal girls. My friends' wives are great." "You mean Fiona and Monica?" "Yeah, that's right." "How do you know they're great?" "They don't say anything when we see them. They're afraid to say a word." "Exactly. They don't say anything unnecessary. You can tell they respect their husbands." "I respect and love you too, but I won't stop talking to Camilla." "Then you won't go anywhere with her anymore. If you want to socialize, let her come to our house. You will be supervised, so I can be sure that she doesn't turn you against me." And Alan kept his word. He never let Kate go anywhere else with Camilla. As for him, the new rules had no effect on him. The guy continued to go to restaurants and clubs with his friends. When his girlfriend asked him, "Alan, what about me?" he answered that she would not be interested in the company of men, and that there was nothing for her to do there. Kate obediently obeyed him and stayed at home, going out only to the store for groceries and to the university, and that under the strict control of her partner. At first, everything was quiet. For the next 2 years, the girl stayed at home, studied, sewed clothes from patterns she found on the internet, which turned out quite well. She was always interested not just in beautiful clothes, but exclusive, which no one else in the world. She had come to terms with Alan's character, realizing that she could not change it, and she tried to avoid conflicts in every way possible. But further to maintain harmony in the relationship became much more difficult. The young man began to pick on every little thing. "Why is the soup pea and not mushroom?" Why was delayed in the institute for 15 minutes? What were you doing there that you didn't leave your classes on time? It didn't take long for the hand-wringing to take its toll as well. At first, Alan just swung around and said, "I'll get you." But then one day, he went from words to action. The first time after what he'd done, the guy was scared, not believing he'd done it after all. Alan cried, begged Kate's forgiveness on his knees, and assured her that it would never happen again. And, of course, she forgave him, for she loved him and thought it would never happen again. He didn't hit her hard, either. It was just a slap in the face. It was my own fault. I drove him to it. He came home from work tired as it was, and here I am with my questions. She mentally excused him. Needless to say, it soon became a habit and a norm. After a while, Alan's vigilance subsided, and he began to treat Camilla more leniently, so he could safely leave Kate at home alone with her friend, and he went off on some business. Kate reached for a packet of tea on the top shelf. The sleeve of her stretched homemade t-shirt pulled up, and Camilla saw a dark purple stain there. "Kate, what is that?" she asked her friend anxiously. "Where?" Kate decided to pretend she didn't know what she was talking about. "Oh, it's right here. Your hand is all purple. Is that it?" Instead of an answer, Camilla heard sobbing and sniffling. It wasn't necessary to say anything at all. Camilla decided to do the housework herself, poured tea for both of them, and waited for her friend to calm down so she could continue talking. Was it the first time? No. Why do you put up with all this? The endless control, the beatings, the consumerist attitude. I love him, and I can't go back to my mother. It so happened that living with Alan, the girl chose the lesser of two evils. With her mother, she'd had long had a strained relationship, and here's why. Unfortunately, a few years ago, her mother was addicted to gambling, and all the money she got was immediately lost. Although there was almost no money in the family, only child support for her younger sister Ivy. So against that backdrop, life with a young man seemed perfect for Kate. In addition, Alan was not greedy. He did not save on his beloved, and really generously presented Kate with flowers, cosmetics, new clothes, took her to restaurants, took her on trips, and even paid for her studies at university. And Kate, though she was not mercenary, appreciated Alan's attitude to her. That's all understandable. But do you have any idea who you're wasting your best years on? Honestly, I don't recognize you at all. You always knew your own worth. Camilla went on frustratedly. I don't like it myself. With a shaking voice, she excused herself. But I don't see any other way out of it. Yes, I love him. I am waiting for him to change, to be his old self. When you decide to do something about it, call me, and we'll work something out. Just don't drag it out while you're still in one piece. I'm really worried about you. Camilla went home. She didn't remind her friend that she had once advised her to take a closer look at the guy and not force things. She knew she was sick enough as it was. Kate was alone with her thoughts. Where had the Alan she had once fallen in love with gone? Attentive, kind and caring, with a great sense of humor. When did he get replaced by the ultimate domestic tyrant? In general, it was hard to believe it, seeing the situation from the outside, because in public, Alan was the absolute opposite. In the company of his friends and their wives, the guy always tried to show how much he loved his companion, gallantly courting her. Kate spent the next week wondering if it was really time to end the relationship. She herself, without noticing it, became more cold to her young man, practically did not communicate with him, was silent a lot, and neglected her domestic duties. Of course, this did not go unnoticed, and there was another scandal. Pack your things and go wherever you want. We're breaking up, shouted Alan in a heartbeat, thinking that Kate was about to start urging him not to kick her out and apologize, as she usually did. But this time, it was a completely different scenario. All right, the girl replied sedately, and went to pack up all her possessions she had accumulated over the years. Already a former young man was looking at all this, pretending he didn't care at all. but the nervous fluttering of the laces on the hood of his sweatshirt gave him away. "And where will you go? You haven't even got anywhere to go," he shouted sarcastically at Kate as she wheeled her suitcase to the front door. "That's not your concern anymore, Alan." She smiled back, knowing that this was definitely the end. "Thank you for everything," pulled the keys. Alan shook with fear. Was this really it? This was not the outcome he had counted on. Standing downstairs, Kate called her best friend. "Camilla, here's the thing. I left Alan. I don't feel like going back to my mom's. Can I stay with you for a while? Until I figure out what to do next." "Honey, of course. What are your questions? Are you still at Alan's? I'll send Adam to pick you up. I'll get your bed ready for you." In 15 minutes, the young man of her friend was already putting the suitcase into the trunk of his car, and Kate, with her head thrown up, was looking at the windows of the apartment, where she would never go back. Tears came to her eyes, whether from sadness or happiness, but she quickly got over them. In the evening over dinner, her friend told Camilla about what had happened to Adam, and she summed it up. "In general, I do not know at all what I will do now. I don't want to go back to my parents' house. I have no money, and I can't use your hospitality for a long time either. It will be very difficult to combine work and study, so, apparently, I will have to transfer to a correspondence course. Listen, I've been thinking. You sew very well. I've seen you. I have such a coat. In chain stores like this, you cannot find a day. All those rags aren't even close. Don't you want to open your own store? Are you kidding me? You need a lot of money for that. What if we started a business together? I've got savings enough to rent space and buy materials. We'll start small, and then we'll see." "Actually, that sounds wonderful." Kate's eyes lit up. "And as for housing, don't worry. We can lend you a small amount of money to rent a house for the first time. Then you'll pay us back when you have a chance. What would I do without you?" They decided not to put it off for long. Kate got busy creating sketches, choosing fabrics and accessories, and other creative things, while Camilla started looking for rooms, crews for repairs, and solved the financial issues. All this time, Alan was keeping the girl busy, constantly carousing outside the university, demanding that she explain herself to him and pick up the frying pan she hadn't picked up that last day, and threatening to take it to the dumpster in the yard. Of course, Kate didn't want the frying pan for nothing. She knew that it was all just a trick, a bait to bring her home and bullshit her, promising a bright future and a global change in their relationship. Kate took public transportation from school with several transfers. She was very worried that Alan would track down her new place of residence and start visiting her there. She agreed to Camilla's favor at the time and rented the cheapest tiny studio apartment on the outskirts of the city. Little by little, the friends' business moved forward. They had an official opening where they presented their brainchild to relatives, friends, and friends of friends. At first, the assortment wasn't that extensive, and they put all the money they earned back into the store. Soon, they were able to afford to hire staff, delegating some of the duties they had previously performed in-house. When Alan found out about the store, he began to visit there as well. The girls even had to contact a security agency to get them to send an employee to work with them permanently. The girls put their heart and soul into their work, and it was obvious. They worked day and night, and it paid off handsomely. The store was famous in the city for its quality and stylish clothes. People went to them in droves, and most importantly, they came back again for more. Kate got back on her feet, bought her own place, graduated from the institute, paying for the last semesters on her own, paid back everything she owed to Camilla, and took the job she loved. Who knew a couple of years ago that accidentally bought online courses in sewing and tailoring, which saved her from boredom, would become her life's work? The girl clearly decided for herself that she would no longer rush headlong into a pool and move in with a young man without getting to know him first, and she would never allow herself to be in a dependent position.